Good morning, my name is Jerry, and in this video I'll be demonstrating how to deploy on-premises Active Directory within Azure. So first of all, to begin, we have to create our virtual machine. Now remember, we'll be needing a domain controller and as well a client that will be connected to the domain controller in order to install Active Directory. So let's begin by creating a virtual machine. Our virtual machine that we're going to create first is going to be the domain controller. So let's start by creating our domain controller. So first of all, we go into the virtual machine and we're going to say create a virtual machine. This takes quite a little time before it shows. And then I'm going to create a resource group for my virtual machine. So I'm going to call it DC, that's domain controller lab demo. Good, so this is the name of our resource group, and I'm going to give our virtual machine a name, and we're going to call it DC. So I'm going to call it DC1. DC1. Okay, so I'm going to set it East US, so it's in ACS. Let me say West US 3. And this is going to be a standard. And we're going to, since we're creating a domain controller, which means we're going to need a server. So this is our server. So I've selected Windows Server 22. And then we're going to choose so this is already selected, and we're going to leave it at that. Then I'm going to call it Jerry Lab User 7, just as usual. And I'm going to use the same password. So our password is going to be password 7777. And I'm going to scroll up and say next. Then I'm going to go to the networking to ensure that our VNet is being created. So you can see we have our VNet created here, DC1 VNet, virtual network, and we also have our DC1 IP here. So it means we're good to go. I'm going to say review plus create. So you can see it taking quite a little time. Okay, I'm going to say create. So now the virtual machine have started deployment of the virtual machine. So you can see here it's saying submitting deployment. So we're definitely going to have our virtual machine ready as soon as possible. So the next thing we're going to do is to set our domain controller IP address to static. And how do we do that? We have to wait for this deployment to finish. Once it's complete, then we're going to set our virtual machine domain controller IP address to static. But before then, let's see if we're going to be creating another virtual machine as fast as possible. So now we're going to be creating our client 1, which we intend to connect to the domain controller. So I will say virtual machine, and I'm going to say create a new virtual machine again, but this time around I'm creating a client machine. So we already have a resource group. I'm going to make sure our client is saved in the same resource group as the virtual machine, as the domain controller. Then I'm going to give our client a name, client 1. So it's already here. And I'm going to make sure they are saved in the same location, US West 3, West US 3. Good. And I'm going to make sure it's a standard. Then this time around, it's going to be a window, just a normal window 10 PC. And then I'm going to scroll up and give it the same username as we did here. So I'm going to give it the same username. What is our formal username for the other one? what was the username? Okay, this is the username. Jerry Lab user 7. Jerry Lab user 7. Jerry Lab user 7. So that's what we're going to use here, the same Jerry Lab user 7. So we can see all the passwords are matched. Then I'm going to click that I confirm and go to next. And we're going to head to the network to ensure that they are using the same VNet. So you can see it's using the domain controller VNet. So we're good to go. I'm going to say create. Review plus create. And it's going to take a little time to get ready. Then I'm going to say create. Then as we are creating it, I will go back to our domain controller in order to set the IP address, the domain controller network interface to static. So I'm going to set the IP address to static. So we have a domain controller ready here. I'm going to click on it. Then after that, I'm going to click on networking. And once we click on networking, we're going to see the network interface. That is the NIC here. I'm going to click on it. And once I click on it, I should have something like this. Then I'm going to say IP configuration here. Then I should set it to static by clicking this. The IPv4 configuration, I'm going to set it to static. So as you can see, this is done. I'm going to say save. Good, it has been saved. So now we probably have two virtual machines here. One, the domain controller, and one, the client computer. So it is important to note that this domain controller are in the same resource group, and as well they are using the same virtual network, and this is what we've been able to achieve. And there's no need to check because I'm pretty sure that the client is using the same virtual network as the domain controller. So the next thing we're going to do is to ensure that there is a connection between the client and the domain controller. So what we're going to do is we're going to log in to the client computer through our desktop, remote desktop connection. So first of all, I'm going to click on the client computer here. Click on the client computer here, so that I'm going to retrieve the IP, the public IP address, so I can log in to the virtual machine. So here we go. So you can see that our public IP address is here, and I'm going to copy it so that I can log in. So the connection has been established. Then I'm going to use our our username that I created, which is Jerry Lab user 7, Jerry Lab user 7, and I'm going to use the password created. So have password 7777. So you can see that's what we have here. Okay, I'm going to say remember me so I don't have to log in all the time. So I'm going to say okay, and you can see we are connected. So here I'm going to, So this is our virtual machine. I'm going to open our domain controller here so that we can copy the private IP of the domain controller, because we want to ping. We're going to ping the domain controller in the client computer to ensure that they are highly connected. So now we are the client computer. This is the client virtual machine, and as you can see, the client virtual machine is logged in here. So I'm going to say no here, and I'm going to say no here, no, and I'm going to accept it. Now the client computer is open, and for you to verify that the client computer is open or the client virtual machine is open, we can actually run CMD. We can run CMD and we can ask, who am I? Who am I? As you can see, this is a client computer on Jerry Lab user 7. Or you can say host name, client 1. So this is our client 1. So basically we are the client 1 computer. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to try to ping. So I'm going to try to send an echo request to the DC controller, which the private address is this. So I'm going to say enter. So when I try to ping, it seems like they are not connected, right? The request timed out. The request timed out. So it means they are not connected. So what am I going to do? I want to ensure that they are connected to each other in order for us to perform, in order for us to download Active Directory services. So what am I going to do? I'm going to initiate a perpetual ping. A perpetual ping is basically a ping that never ends. So it keeps pinging until our connection is established. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say enter. And this pinging will continue without ending. Then I'm going to minimize the client computer and log into the the domain controller. How do I do that? I'm going to copy the public address and open another instance of, and I'll open another instance of the remote desktop connection. And I'm going to put an IP address here and try to connect again, this time to the domain controller. So I'm going to put our username. Remember, I used the same username, which is Jerry Lab use 7, and I'm going to use the same password. Password 1234. So you can see there's a password. Let me check if it's correct. It's correct. I'm going to say remember me to ensure that I don't have to log in. I don't have to write all those details every now and then. So I'm going to say yes. Now our domain controller is opening. So it's trying to set up the profile for the service. So remember, this is going to be our server. Remember, this is Windows Server 22. It's opening. Wow, it's open right now. So, and what am I going to do? Remember that we initiated a ping, an echo request from the client 1 PC, and we want to ensure that the client 1 PC is able to reach the domain controller as it is echoing the private IP address, but seems like it is timing out. And this is because some of the connections are being blocked in the window firewall. So we're going to run window firewall. So we'll call it wf.msc, and I'm going to run it. So let's wait for it to open. Now it is open. I'm going to go to inbound rule. Remember, we're talking about an echo request have been sent to this computer, so it's inbound, not outbound. So I'm going to inbound rule, and I should maximize this so I can see everything. And now I'll go to protocols. So remember that we're going to enable the ICMP protocol and IPv4. So the ICMP is basically the Internet Control Message Protocol. So we can see that some of these are being turned off like this. The call message diagnosis, which is the echo request. So I'm going to turn it on by right-clicking and say enable rule. And I'm going to enable one more, network diagnosis, which is the echo as well. Enable one more. So as soon as I've done this, I should by now be able to ping from the domain controller. So let's go and see. So I'm going to go to the domain controller, the client 1 computer. So you can see, immediately I've done that, the ping has started going. So they are connected. Remember that this is the private IP of the domain controller is 10.004. So we can see that the ping has been successful. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop it by saying Control C. So I'm going to stop it, so it has been stopped. So we have successfully connected the both machines. Okay, so the next thing to do is that I'm going to close this window firewall, and I'm going to open the server manager. This is where I'm going to install the Active Directory domain services. So I'm going to say this, I'm going to click, remember I clicked on add roles and features. I'm going to say next, and here I'm going to look for Active Domain Services. Sorry, Active Directory Domain Service. So I'm going to say add features, and I'm going to say next, and install. So this will take quite some time. Then once it is concluded, we continue what we're doing. So we're gonna wait for it slightly. As you can see, it's installing. We're installing the Active Directory domain services. Okay, so it seems like it has succeeded. As you can see, the configuration required, installation succeeded on DC1. So I'm going to close it. And once we close it, we go into this error message, the something notification, and we're going to say promote this server to a domain controller. And now we want to promote it to a domain controller. We're going to add a new forest. To add a new forest, we're going to name it mydomain.com. So I'm going to call it mydomain.com. So this could be any domain that is already registered or whatever. So, but this is, for now, this is what we're going to call it, mydomain.com. And I'm going to say next. And here I should set up a password for this domain controller. For this domain. So I'm going to still name it the same password that we have here. So I'm going to call it password 1234. Password 1234. So I guess they should be the same by now. So I should say next. And after that, I'm going to say next. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to wait for it to dictate our domain name. Yeah, our domain name has been dictated. Then I'm going to say next. Yep, I'm going to say yes, next. I'm going to say next. Then here, next. It's approaching the installation. I'm going to say install. Once the installation is completed, then the Active Directory domain services has been installed. So we'll still be waiting for it to be installed on DC1, that's domain controller 1. Yeah, so once it is done, it signs out by itself. Now I'm going to open the remote PC once again, and now here, this is make sure that we're connected we're going to our DC. So I'm going to copy our DC once again and paste it here, so it's the same. And I'm going to say connect, but I don't want to go with this email, these details again. So I want a pretty new connection. What am I going to do? Okay, good. So I'm going to say more choices. I'm logging with a different account. So I'm going to log in with this. I'm going to be logging in with this. And then with a password. Yes, it's correct now. Okay, so I'm going to say login. I'm going to connect it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, yeah. So it's gonna be logged in. Yeah. So we have succeeded in logging in as the domain controller. So you can see, please wait for the group policy client. Okay, so let me look into our client one. Okay, this is our client one computer. Okay, very good. So we have succeeded in logging into our domain controller. As you can see, that all these have been installed. So the next thing we're going to do right now is we're going to tools, and we're going to Active Directory users and computers. So this is the place we're going to create organizational unit. So what we do, I'm going to right click on this and say create new organizational unit. So organizational unit, and I'm going to call this organizational unit employees, and I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to create another organizational unit, and I'm going to call it, I'm going to say organizational unit, I'm going to call it _ admins. And I'm going to create it. So let me drop down this. You can see all that we've created there here. Okay, so, and in the admin, I'm going to create a user. Okay, so what I'm going to do under the admin, as I'm here, I'm under the admin, then I'm going to create a new user. And it's going to be an admin user. So I'm going to call this new user, I'm going to call him Jerry. I'm going to create myself as a new user, Jerry. And I'm going to say Namde here. And that's my full name. So I'm going to say admin. I'm going to call this login admin _ Jerry. And as my login, then I'm going to say next. I'm going to create a password for it. And our password is going to be password. No, I should copy it because why it doesn't show. Let me copy the password here. So that's our password. And I'm going to paste it. And I'm going back to the domain controller. Paste the password. Paste it again. So now we have a password, and I'm going to uncheck this and say password never expires. And I click and finish. Now what do? I've created one admin user. But however, I'm going to put it into, I'm going to make sure that this admin user is a member of the admin security group. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say member of, and I'm going to add a security group. So we have domain user. Yes, it's already a domain user. Then I'm going to add a security group by saying admin. Let me type admin here. And let me check the name admin. Administrator. So what they have domain. Because I'm going to add it to domain admin. Domain admin security group. Yeah, so we have domain admins. So I'm going to add him into this security group. And I'm going to say apply. I'm going to say okay. Now it is in the admin security group. Now what am I going to do is I should be able to log out and log in to this computer again with this username. Okay, so what next to do? Yeah, so what did I do? What did I use here? Is it Jerry _ admin or admin _ Jerry? Let me go in there again. to detail to see. Okay, my username is admin underscore Jerry. That's my username. Okay, so I should be able to log out here. So I should be able to log back in as more choices, different choice. I should be able to log in as this. I'm going to call it admin underscore Jerry. Password. Very good. So, and I should be signing in. I should be able to sign in now. Now let's see what happens. Wow, so exactly this is me. Now, good. So everything is still looking good. And okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to join this client one machine to our domain controller through the same domain, mydomain.com. Okay, so what am I going to do is I'm going to go to networking. To do that join, we have to set the client one to be, we're going to set the DNS of this client one to be equal to the private IP of, it's going to be the private IP of, so I see we're here. We're going to set the DNS server of this client one machine to be exactly the IP address, the private IP of the client of the DC. So and our private IP is, as you can see, I've selected it here. It's 0.004. So I'm going to paste it here. So this is exactly our domain controller IP address. I'm going to set it as the DNS server for the client one. And I'm going to say save. Okay, I'm going to say save. So, and as soon as the save has been completed, I'm going to restart. I'm going to restart the client one again. So I'm going to do a restart of client one here. Client one. No, not client one. I'm going to do a restart of client one. So it's client one here. Since we changed the DNS, we created a custom DNS. So I'm going to do a restart. I'm going to say restart. Okay, so it seems like the restart has been completed. So I'm going to open an instance of this again, and as you can see, I copied the client one IP public IP address. I'm going to put it here, that was the same, and I'm going to say connect. So we're connecting as our usual lab user 7, Jerry lab user 7. I'm going to say yes. So now it has opened again. What we're going to do now is to, okay, so what we're going to do, as we have logged in into our, client PC, then we're going to find system here. Let's find the system. But before we do that, let's make sure that we are in the client PC. So how do we do that? We're going to run CMD. Let's run CMD one more time. CMD. And ask, who am I? Who am I? So I'm in the client's one and ask host name. Host name to client one. So we're in the client one to make sure. And we're going to say rename this PC. And when we get that, we're going to say change. But this change, we're going to say domain, and we're going to add our domain here. So what we're trying to do is to join client one into the domain controller. So I'm going to say my domain .com. And I'm going to say OK. So once I click OK, it seems like the system is going to log out. Well, let me say, first of all, let me enter the name and password of an account with permission to join this domain. Okay, I'm going to say admin underscore Jerry. I'm going to say password 1234. Password 1234. Yeah, it's correct now. I'm going to say OK. So once I say OK, what happens? Once I say OK, once immediately I said OK, the client one logged out immediately. So it logged out, as you can see. We don't have it again. So what we're going to do is we're going to log back in. So as you can see, the client one got logged out. So we're going to log back in to the client one. Okay, so, but for now, we are still in the domain controller. So for you to verify, you can see the server manager here, so which shows you directly that we are in the domain controller. So what we're going to do now is, let's go to tool and also our directory. And we want to verify if we have actually connected the client one to the domain controller. So how do we do that? We're going to go to the computer and to ensure that we find client one. So you can see that client one is already connected here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create another organizational unit called clients, an organizational unit. And I'm going to call it underscore clients. And I will save it. Now once I save it, let me refresh. Okay. So immediately I do it. What I'm going to do is I should open this computer here, drag whatever in computer. I should drag it into clients. I'm going to say yes. So now you can see in the client we have the client one here. Done. So the next thing we're going to do is to set up a desktop controller, a remote desktop. We're going to set up a remote desktop for non-administrative user on client one. So definitely we're going to log into client one as our admin. So let's see. Okay. So let me find the remote desktop here. And I'm going to log back in. Okay, so I'm going to be logging in. I'll be logging in as our admin into the client PC. Let's see what happened. Into the client one PC or machine. As you can see, we put a password. Okay. We say okay. And try to connect. So it's exactly moving. Okay. The client PC is now on. We can also verify if we're on the client PC by running CMD. I'm going to ask who am I? So we're on the okay. We're on the client PC actually, but we have logged in as a domain, as one of the domain admin. And we can say host name. So we can verify where we are. So we are in client one. So we can see as we're on client one now, we're going to, our aim is to So our aim is to allow users access to remote desktop. And to do that, we're going to go to System. That's a place we went before. And this time around, we're going to say Remote Desktop. And we're going to select users that can remotely access this PC. And we're going to add user. Then we're going to say domain user, right? Domain. We're going to add it into domain user security group. Domain users. Don't know. Let's see. Yes, domain users. Very good. So, and wait a little bit. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say add. That's OK here. Okay, so after this has been added, this means that one can now log into the client one without being an admin. So, though we don't have any other account yet, so what we're going to do next is we're going to the domain controller to create as many accounts as possible so that other users can as well go into that client one without being an admin. So let's do it. What we're going to do is I'm going to close this now and close this. Then I'm going to open PowerShell. I'm going to open PowerShell I. Then I'm going to open it as an admin. Then I say OK. Once PowerShell is opened, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to copy a code. I'm going to copy this code. So I'm going to copy this code. I go this way. I go to the domain controller and paste the code here. So as soon as I paste the code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what the code actually does. So we can see that the code actually contains a password. So I'm going to put our password here so it's easier to remember. And this code is going to create 10,000 accounts. So maybe we could reduce it to 2,000 accounts. Let's reduce this to 2,000 accounts because 10,000 is a lot. Or we can just create 10,000 accounts. Okay, let's create 10,000 accounts. And these accounts are just domain users, just users, not admin. So, and when we create these accounts, then we are likely to expect the account to be seen in so if I open here, then I should go to this employee, and this is where these accounts are going to be filled in. So as you can see, employee here, the employee organizational unit here is empty. So we're going to look out for all the 10,000 accounts we're going to create. They are likely to be stored in here. So with that account, any user in that account can actually log into the client's computer without any issue, without any problem. So let's get it done. So this is our code. All I need to do is to say run. Once I say run, this code is going to be run. And this code is going to have the same password. I mean, each account is going to have the same password, but different usernames. And we're going to create a total of 10,000 accounts. So let's run it. 1, 2, go. Run. So as you can see here, these accounts are being created. Can you see them? It's going to create 10,000 accounts. So I'm going to minimize, and I go to this employee and try to refresh it to see if so many accounts have gone in here. So I can see, as you can see, some of the accounts are already landed here, and these are different names, different usernames that we can actually log in with. So basically, Active Directory domain services allows us to create a domain controller where we can actually control a massive number of PC, massive number of clients controlled by one server. So the aim of our active domain services is to ensure that we are able to control a massive number of clients through just one domain control. And that is actually what we've demonstrated in this video. So the next thing we're going to do is to ensure that these accounts can actually log into the client computer. So to do that, I'm going to pick up one account at random, just any one account. So let me go to the first one here. And the first one here, we have this username. And this is the username, right? And this username is a member of domain user. So I'm going to go to that username and copy this username and try to log in through this username to the client computer. Remember, we just have one password. So I'm going to log out here. I'm going to try to disconnect here and go back in. How do I do that? I just open the remote desktop one more time. And I'm going to go back in. No, I'm going to say no. I'm going to change the details. I'm going to change details here and try to use a different account. So I have this. And I'm going to use this password, WORD 7777. Yeah, so I'm going to try to log in. Let's see what happens. Wow, it's working. Wow, it's working. So we can see. Now let's see. You see the name we just logged in with, Babe Me RIR, Ray. So we can see we have ended up demonstrating that any of these members created could actually log into this account. And that is what this video is all about. So thank you for being here. Thank you for looking at this video. We ended up demonstrating deploying Active Directly within Active Directly domain services within Azure. And I hope you find this video helpful. Thank you for being here.